I would expect that, yes, it's a front office decision. And listen, Vlad Jr. as a player, he's a really great hitter. We all know that. He also is a first baseman. We know that. Not a great defender. I would
Let's hit the inside scoop with FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal, sitting next to AJ Przinsky right now in Surprise, Arizona. Ken, good to see you. I do want to get straight to biz while AJ bothers you the entire time, but let's see how we do here, because there is a lot surfacing about Vladdy Jr. You wrote about him and reported about what the money looks like. So what else can you tell us? Because this is cool for us to get kind of inside the negotiations. We don't always get this.
Well, first of all, the New York Post reported yesterday that the Jays' offer was in the $500 million range, but with deferrals around 400 to 450. Now, it's closer to 450, according to Sportsnet. They reported that this morning. So that's where the Jays were, 450 present value. And then I reported yesterday as well that Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s ask is 500 present day value. So the difference we're talking about, AJ, is $50 million over 14 years. That's not a lot of money.
That's nothing.
They can do that. Or at least they can compromise on it. So I don't know how to quite interpret all this, Scott. I would say it's not necessarily over if the Jays come back to him. Vlad Jr. has said if they come with a realistic offer before opening day, I'll listen. But it's got to be realistic in his mind. And again, the gap, based on what was reported yesterday by myself, John Heyman, Sportsnet, it just doesn't seem to be that significant. So I don't know if it gets done. It should get done. He is a homegrown player. He is a native Canadian. He was, of course, the son of Vlad Guerrero Sr., and Vlad Guerrero Sr. at that time was playing for Montreal, and he wants to stay. So I just don't see the problem unless somehow the Jays don't value him properly. And if that's the case, then why'd you offer him $450 million? So it's it's been a curious situation from the very beginning, honestly, and it remains curious.
I've said for days since the deadline came and passed, right, that Vlad is winning this fight because the way his team has handled it, he basically has now thrown it back. This is the second time he's thrown it back on the team. So all the pressure is on the Blue Jays right now because they have a whole country that is looking at them. And when he came out and said, I want to stay here, I want all this, and they didn't make a fair offer, and then he comes out and he gives the offer, what we think, and he says, hey, if they get to 500, I'll take it. It's almost like now the Blue Jays are backed into a corner. They almost have to go there, don't they?
I would agree. Teams don't necessarily think how I think or you think or the average fan thinks, but it just seems to me that this is a battle, if you want to call it that, or I should say a negotiation, that the Jays need to get done because their team going forward is in trouble without Vlad Jr. and Bo Bichette, both of whom are eligible for free agency. And they've got other free agents coming up in the next couple of years, and their farm system is weak. It's a bottom 5 farm system, I believe, by most analyses. So, to me, Vlad Jr. is a guy you build around. He's going to be 27 next year, his first free agent year. That seems to me a driving force for them, or should be, and I don't quite know what the problem is.
We always hear about the organization doesn't value this player as high as he's asking. Does this feel like a front office choice to not go to the extra 50 or an ownership choice to not go to the extra 50?
I would say it's a front office choice because clearly they have the money. They bid almost $700 for Soto. They bid for Ohtani last year. They are not a team that is necessarily fretting over $50 million. And their ownership, the Rogers Communications Corporation, is one of the wealthiest in the game. They have a massive, of course, company that spans throughout Canada. So I would expect that, yes, it's a front office decision. And listen, Vlad Jr. as a player, he's a really great hitter. We all know that. He also is a first baseman. We know that. Not a great defender. I would say he's not much different than Soto in some respects. Not the same kind of hitter, obviously, not as consistent, not as accomplished. But you can see where there might be some hesitation on the club's part. I understand that. At the same time, he's your guy. And if he's your guy and the going rate just went up when Juan Soto signed and you had a chance to sign Vlad Jr. for cheaper, that's on you. And again, to me, this just should get done. And I'm not quite sure why it wouldn't get done, other than the fact that their valuations seem to be different than Vlad Jr.'s.
Is this Shapiro's and Ross Atkins' last chance? because they're on the hot seat. Their contracts are up at the end of the year, correct? And so everyone's been talking about this, and they need to win, and they need to get Vlad and Bo signed. If they don't get this done, is this the straw?
It's a good question. And with their situation, it's Shapiro in his last year. Atkins has 2 more.
Okay, sorry.
But that's pretty much where they are. And while to fans and to us, media, they might appear to be on the hot seat, the only people that matter are their bosses. And do they consider Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins to be on the hot seat? And they've done, Mark Shapiro as team president has done some really interesting things. They've fixed the ballpark. They built this beautiful spring training site. Maybe they value that more than even on-field performance of the major league club, the infrastructure going forward. I don't know. But certainly in terms of the team's performance, they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. That at some point has to factor in. And that's where they are right now.
They even let the Twins beat them in a series.
Yeah, they did.
More in a minute, but first, a quick word from our sponsor of this video. Kratz, do you like spending an hour on grocery shopping?
Nope. Speed up the process, please.
Introducing Hungry Root to the FT fam.
Now we can all be bougie with our own personal shopper to handle the food shopping, including Rex, based on what you're looking to put in your body.
I stack my Hungry Root box with items like gluten-free, dairy-free blueberry waffles for breakfast, shrimp veggie bowls for lunch, and a little filet mignon with potatoes and broccolini for dinner.
You can also say just, hey, Hungry Root, I eat paleo, or I'm vegetarian, and they load up your cart with personalized recommendations.
And those recs keep evolving as they learn about what you're into. Also, no BS, as in no artificial sweeteners or preservatives in any of Hungry Root's food. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as FT does. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/FT and use code FT. That's hungryroot.com/FT, code FT to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. And now back to the video.
Did you see Brian Cashman's comments about the luxury tax? Is that fair that the Yankees can say, you know, with the luxury tax, it's pretty tough for us to go farther?
It's fair. That's their opinion. That's how they're treating it. But if you're a Yankee fan and you're looking at this, or if you're a Yankee player and you're hearing this, you might say, what are we doing? And with Cole, they have insurance. So from a financial perspective, they're going to get some of the money back, 75% at some point. And that you would think would create some flexibility. Now, granted, cash payroll is different than luxury tax payroll. But if you're worried about the luxury tax, you're worried essentially about paying more in penalty. Well, if you have more cash available, you should be able to handle that. Now, I don't know if Brian Cashman is saying this because he doesn't really like the guys that are available, the Gibsons and the Lins. I don't know if he's saying it because he truly is in a position where ownership is not letting him add. I'm not quite sure. But he is right that the market out there is thin. You can't argue that. It is thin. But at the same time, the Yankees need help. And I don't know why they wouldn't spend on one of the remaining starting pitchers, maybe even another reliever, if that's where they are, and that is where they are right now.
Why can't Max Reed be ready for opening day? He came out and said it's not lining up. All they got to do is move him a day or two, right? Adjust his bullpen. To me, that's like, well, if Fried can't be ready, then that means Rodon can't be ready, Stroman can't be ready, Schmidt can't be ready, Will Warren, if he's the other guy, can't be ready.
Remember last year with Stroman, they had this with opening day.
I don't understand why they can't move a guy 1 or 2 days and make it. I mean, it's not like it's tomorrow. It's weeks away.
AJ, I am not sure the answer to that one. It's curious to me as well.
I don't know. I don't know, Ken. It's a weird question for me.
All right, let's finish with this topic, Ken, and then these guys might have a follow-up on it. You wrote your story about Mo Vaughn that got a lot of attention the other day. You spoke about it on Inside Dish on Fair Territory, so I encourage people to check that out. The cool part of the story is his son's involvement. The part that gets a lot of headlines, of course, is him admitting some HGH use back in the day. So what did you take from that part of the conversation?
Well, it's interesting, Scott, and I'll go through it actually in a way that I didn't even go through it on Fair Territory. So I went to Mo's training center in Boca Raton, visited with him there, saw what was going on. And after that, I went back and started reading more about Mo in preparation to write the article. And I forgot he was in the Mitchell Report. It's 2007, the Mitchell Report, and he wasn't one of the biggest names in it, and it was a kind of a small section, whatever. And then I realized, you know what? If I don't ask him about this, that would be kind of a dereliction of duty. I need to ask him about this. So I asked him about it within the context of the story, which was, for many years, he was not wanting to get involved in baseball. The game had hurt him because of the way his career ended. He had injuries, and he just felt he was out of the game before he should have been due to physical reasons, not anything that any team did to him. He was just angry about what happened. So I asked him, hey, was the fact that you got named in the Mitchell Report part of where your anger came from? And he said, not at all. So then when I wrote the story, I included in the story, you can read it, the whole thing, the one about him and his son. And we decided that if we just leave it in the story, the entire world's going to aggregate it, and we're going to be left without our own story, essentially. We're going to be kind of in a rough position. So I decided to write a separate story, knowing full well, actually we decided, I should say, our editors and me, we decided to do that, knowing full well that that would get a lot of attention and kind of bastardize the other story, which to some degree I guess happened, but I hope that people read the main story, the longer story about Mo and what he went through and how he came back to the game through his 12-year-old son. And this started a few years ago. It's kind of cool. And it's kind of cool to see a guy who has loved the game his whole life, who got frustrated and angry with the game, be brought back to it because of his son playing and him coaching. And now he has this amazing academy with 2,000 active members. They got Mike Easler coaching and Omar Moreno and all these other guys, and he's doing good things with kids. I just thought it was really cool. And that, I hope, is the biggest takeaway. Not that Mo Vaughn admitted to what was in the Mitchell Report, which is not insignificant. Don't get me wrong. It's news. But the other story is what this was really all about.
This game keeps dragging you back in, Ken. You can't get it. Once it's in your blood, you can't get away from it. It's crazy. Everyone's like, oh, I don't watch baseball. I don't do this. And when they retire. And then you talk to them a couple years later and like, oh, I've started watching again, and now I'm back into it. So it's a weird thing, as you guys know. It gets in your blood, and once it's in there, you can't get it out. So today, when I got here a little bit ago, I'm walking down the hallway, and Chris Young is having a press conference, and him and Ken are going to do, what you guys do, a private interview?
It was private.
Private. I wasn't allowed to listen. Here's
No, you
the
were not.
picture I got. So if anybody ever wondered what the tallest guy in baseball looks like, and then one of the shortest guys in baseball looks like standing next to each other, there's what CY and Ken look like next to each other.
Now, I know AJ gets a real kick out of this, and I guess I can understand that. But here's the thing.
I wasn't good at. First
Scott,
of all, you wanted that to be air. I
told you could air it because I knew
use.
you wanted
I
to
was
air
just
it.
keeping
I
it
knew
for
you were-
personal use,
No.
okay?
I knew he was going to be using this against me in some way at some point. So, Scott, what I would say is being short is not a new condition for me. It's not something that's just snuck up on me. So if you want to take a picture with me and Chris Young, me and Aaron Judge, me and whoever, be my guest.
Also, Chris Young makes almost anyone in baseball look tiny. Okay, I'm next to
And he
Chris
had his
Young,
quarter
and
zip
you're going to
on.
be like, you're a shrimp, right? And he had a quarter
And he had
zip
his
on.
quarter zip
Exactly.
on.
Of course.
He has
Full
officially
uniform.
joined the fraternity. Right, full GM uniform. Well, Ken, thank you for the time. Good to see you, and good luck with AJ next to you. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.